Fun. When my family moved into our new house, we were ecstatic. It was an old Victorian-style home, full of charm and character. Every corner seemed to have a story. From the creaking floorboards to the stained glass windows, it felt like we had stepped back in time. But there was one odd feature that nagged at us: a small locked door in the attic. At first, it didn't bother us. We joked about it, calling it the secret treasure room or the portal to Narnia. But as we unpacked and settled in, our curiosity grew. My dad tried to open it with a crowbar, but the wood didn't budge. He said the door was probably painted shut or warped from age. We decided to leave it alone, figuring it wasn't worth the trouble. A few months later, strange things started happening. At night, we'd hear faint scratching sounds above the bedrooms, like something small was moving inside the walls. My mom insisted it was just mice, but no traps ever caught anything. Sometimes we'd hear faint thuds as if something heavy had fallen in the attic, but every time we checked, nothing was out of place. One night, while I was lying in bed, I heard the scratching again, louder this time. I grabbed a flashlight and crept upstairs, determined to find the source. The attic felt colder than usual, and the air had a stale, musty smell. When I reached the locked door, I froze. It was slightly open. The beam of my flashlight revealed a tiny room no bigger than a closet. Inside was a single rocking chair facing the wall, gently swaying as if someone had just left it. On the floor lay a black and white photo of the house, yellowed with age. I picked it up, my hands trembling. In the photo, the house looked just as it did now, but there was a man standing in the corner of the frame, partially obscured. His face was pale, his eyes dark and sunken. He was staring straight at the camera, his expression unreadable. I showed the photo to my parents the next morning. They brushed it off, saying it must have been left behind by the previous owners, but the door wouldn't lock again. Every time we closed it, it would slowly swing open within a day. One night, after the scratching grew unbearable, my dad nailed the door shut. The noises stopped for a while, but the uneasy feeling in the attic never went away. Eventually, we moved, leaving the locked door and whatever was behind it far behind us. 2. Our move into the new house felt like a fresh start. It was modern, sleek, and practically new. No creaking floors, no ancient wiring, just clean lines and big windows that filled every room with light. It felt perfect. The first night was uneventful, but by the second, I noticed something odd. A faint smell of cigarette smoke lingered in the living room. It was subtle at first, just a hint that made me wonder if the previous owners had been smokers. But when I mentioned it to my partner, they said they didn't smell anything. Over the next week, the smell came and went. Some nights it was stronger, others it was barely noticeable. We checked everything: the fireplace, vents, even the crawl space. Nothing seemed out of place. The oddest part was that the smell only appeared at night. One evening, as I was settling in to watch TV, the smell grew stronger than ever. It was overwhelming, like someone had just lit a cigarette right next to me. I turned off the TV, thinking it might be overheating, and that's when I saw it. Movement in the reflection of the screen. It was faint, like a shadow passing behind me. I spun around, but the room was empty. The smell vanished as quickly as it had come. Over the next few weeks, the incidents escalated. Doors would creak open on their own, and faint coughs echoed through the house late at night. It wasn't until a neighbor stopped by that we learned the truth. The house had been rebuilt after a fire years ago. The previous owner, an elderly man, had been a heavy smoker and had tragically passed away in the blaze. We tried to rationalize it, but the smell never left. Eventually, we couldn't take it anymore and decided to move. Even now, whenever I catch a whiff of cigarette smoke, I think of that house and wonder if the old man is still there, stuck in the ashes of his past.